Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Phoenix Film Revival podcast. I am your host, Daniel Yanacone, and today we get the chance to talk to Ryan Barr about the Hong Kong protests. Ryan has lived there for over 8 years and considers Hong Kong his home. We hear firsthand about the increasing protests and see what's happening from his point of view. Documenting the events on film, Ryan shares with us his personal photos from the streets. You can see these silver gelatin prints on display at Phoenix Film Revival through the remainder of the year.
We're rolling. All right. So, Ryan. Grandmaster Flush.
That's yes.
Is that correct?
The alias, I believe it is, yeah. Or Flash, I don't know.
Are you big in the hip hop? Is that?
I did, yeah. I did I do, yeah. So, it seemed like a thing. I don't know. It's the first thing that came to mind when I was creating an IG name.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, so you, and we'll get all into your favorite cameras and all that jazz later on, but so get to the nitty gritty. You live in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And full time. That's
for since 2011.
2011.
Yeah.
What brought you to Hong Kong?
Well, I was just kind of going to ASU and finishing up a degree in creative writing, and then graduated and wanted to travel. So I moved to China and taught English there for a little while, and then moved around China for about a year and a half and ended up in Guangzhou, which is across the border from Hong Kong. And then I had a cousin living in Hong Kong and just naturally progressed and moved there, and have been working and living there ever since. So for a while.
So you were saying that you aren't exactly fluent in either Mandarin or Cantonese.
Yeah.
So you can move around China fine without being fluent in those, and everyone knows English, right?
Yeah. Well, in Hong Kong, yeah. I mean, not everybody knows English, but you can definitely get around for sure as a tourist or, living there. I know plenty of people who have lived there for decades, and they probably know a little bit, but maybe even as much as me. I probably won't learn much more.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, but China though, I would say it's good to know a little bit of Mandarin. Especially it helps because they speak a lot less English, especially the more in you go into the country. Yeah. But yeah, Hong Kong, I mean, if you live there, you do want to speak a little bit, especially you don't want to feel, I don't know, it feels wrong to live in a place for so long and not know at least a little bit,
Yeah.
And you want to eat the good food too. Like if you don't speak anything, you won't, you'll just be eating McDonald's.
No, yeah, that's exactly what you need, the good drinks and the good food and the good places to hang out.
Yeah.
And so you've been living in Hong Kong now for 8 years?
Yeah, about 8 years, 8.5, 9, yeah, something like that.
Wow. What do you do there?
So, I was teaching since I moved there, and then about a year ago, I got a job at a company that sells film because they were going to. Well, they sell all photographic products, camera, film, photo. And they were expanding to do film processing and darkroom work. So I was basically processing everything as far as film goes, and then also making prints, silver gelatin. For some customers want to print and they can't print and they want like a real silver gelatin print. So I got to do that. That was really nice. And I also had access to a darkroom 5 days a week.
Wow.
I could print a lot, and it's super nice, like lights, like the the alien head enlarger, and yeah, it was great for about a year. But because of what's going on in Hong Kong right now, everything's kind of slowing down economically, so they couldn't really afford to have this extra service. They were kind of expanding it, and then this thing started to happen. What's going on now, like a couple months after he hired me. So it's kind of like, bummer,
Yeah.
But no, it's a really unique job to be able to do that at all. So super nice.
So the film well, the film stuff is really catching on in China, or has it always like never left? Or
well, I'll tell you, Hong Kong is if you want to find a film camera, I mean, it's like the epicenter of film cameras.
Okay,
they have so many there. I believe the Holga was like created or invented by a Hong Kong guy.
Okay,
so and also Mint, the Polaroid company. That like refurbishes like SX70s and stuff. I believe that's based in Hong Kong. So they do have quite a lot of photograph, like film photography wise, like so much. And then China also does have a lot. But as far as I'm not too familiar with, I mean, I picked up my first film camera in China for super cheap. And you can definitely find stuff there, but Hong Kong it's easier because it's more dense and it's just easier to find shops.
They're very enthusiastic about film.
I would say so, yeah.
I keep saying China, but Hong Kong, and we'll get into that. Hong Kong really identifies autonomously, right? It's just they don't.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not China.
If you ask somebody, especially now, I mean, it's a super heated debate. Like it's like past the point. Every 4 years in the U.S., we get like this like feral, kind of like left, right, just barking at each other. But it's like it's kind of like that there now, but it's way more intense. And I would say most of the population feels the way like, oh, I'm a Hong Konger. I'm not from China. Yeah, but it's connected to mainland China, and on paper it will be part of mainland China. So, I mean, it's just depends who you ask, maybe. But yeah, they definitely, I mean, it's pretty autonomous. They have their own money, their own language, definitely their own currency of all kinds, culturally, ideas. It's basically like a Western city in Asia. In a lot of ways. That's why I really like it. That's why I've lived there for so long, and I don't think I would want to live in China for 7 years. At least like the freedom of expression and those sorts of things aren't really hampered down in Hong Kong like they are in China. Yeah. So yeah, it's I would say it's very, very different.
Is there a strong art community in Hong Kong or in your neighborhood, in your neck of the woods? Yeah,
I mean, I would say before this thing popped off, it seemed kind of dead, like maybe artistically, or I wouldn't say culturally, but I would say it does have strong institutions in all the arts, like any Western city. But you really saw things flourish after kind of the past 6 months. The turmoil, has created this culture there that's like so immense. He's just like printing flyers, posters, street art. Like the whole city is an art gallery on fire. Wow, it's amazing. It's amazing. I tell you, man, it's beautiful. It's like living there. One thing is, everybody's so morose and dead inside. And I've never lived in New York, but I've visited, and it's very similar to the way people give off this gloomy, disconnection. Mm-hmm. But really, since this thing has happened, you see this coming togetherness that's so just beautiful. It's really nice. It's like people helping each other out. I mean, in a way, the way people act on the street and help each other out, it's like, it is what kind of communism is supposed to be, maybe. The idea of this, I don't know the right word for it, but just togetherness, harmony, right? That kind of China wants, I suppose, or preaches, but maybe doesn't have. But, this is just this is people on the street acting this way towards each other. So it's really nice. So, how long did you live in there? Did you realize that and I'm going to apologize from my American point of view and basic overall ignorance of the whole thing. You read up something into this thing, and
there's a couple of things that I understand and a couple of things that I don't. But from the beginning, did you or the people in your neighborhood and your community, did you guys see this coming? This sort of explosion, this powder keg thing? Did you guys feel it and sense it coming before it got out of hand, it seems like?
I mean, in some ways, yes, and in some ways, no, because I think things really took off in a way that people didn't expect and didn't see coming. But it's kind of how things work there, or I would say even like even down to the small things like a restaurant, when it gets popular or there's a fad or a trend, it just blows up and it's crazy. It's like there's 100 people, 1,000 people all of a sudden lining up to get a bubble waffle or some like snack food. And it has that energy. So when something takes off, it kind of really takes off. And I think you just have a lot of factors working together. Like culturally, it's going to have this friction and this problem with China because they keep getting closer, like in every way. So the people there, are going to have a problem with this other, like totally different culture. It's like kind of moving in and it's creating a lot of friction. So eventually I think people understand that that's going to create some kind of powder keg, some kind of explosion. And this is just when it happened. So, yeah, I don't know. There's probably more to come of that in the future. But I always like to think since I'm from the US and I can only compare it to maybe like New York in a lot of different ways, economically and the way people act. And it's kind of like, well, if New York was connected to China, just say you split New York off, connected it to China, and then the same thing was happening to New York, like what would happen in New York? You would see a lot of the same things, I think. And also there's a big Chinese community in New York too. So you would have maybe a lot of divisions with that. I don't know. That's probably a stupid analogy, but
no, I think actually it puts it in perspective to me so that I understand it. It's like if New York was autonomous and didn't really belong to the rest of the United States.
Right.
And it's had its own culture and its own language and its own money.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the United States is trying to impose certain sanctions on it through generations and years of always frictions and conflict. Everything just kind of exploded and let's just say the big country is now trying to twist everyone's will to theirs after being autonomous and be in their own place for such a long time.
Yeah.
I think as I wrap my head around that, I think that's how I would be able to grasp that point of view a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, I think obviously you have a very interesting perspective as someone who lives and been living in China or Hong Kong for so long and having some sort of outsider viewpoint on this. I assume obviously you have great conversations with people that are happening or with people that have maybe even both sides, can see both sides of it. What's the most interesting argument for for China's wanting to impose their will on Hong Kong as opposed to, obviously my viewpoint is that pro-democracy. And all of a sudden, bam, that, as an American, that triggers me. Dude,
yeah, it's a trigger.
Hell
word.
yeah.
Yeah.
Democracy.
I guess
so. Communism sucks,
Right, right. Yeah.
But I trying to, again, at least see the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
Being there, what is the most interesting argument for China, for communism in this? Or is there one?
I mean, it's not really an argument. It's more of like, to the Chinese government, it's just a matter of fact. It's just that, this transaction happened. Hong Kong was under British rule for, 150 years or something. And in 1997, there was a handover. And then it was supposed to be that Hong Kong could have like 50 years of like autonomy. So it'd be two systems, one country, or one country, two systems till like 2047. So it's really just on the Chinese side, it's just or to the Chinese government, and also to like super nationalists or just anybody who's, you know, like maybe patriotic Chinese. It's just a matter of fact, really, that Hong Kong is a part of China. And I mean, yeah, on paper, that is a matter of fact. So there isn't really an argument about it. Other than I really just think if you go and live there, especially if you live in both places, I think my perspective is kind of like I've lived in China and I've lived in Hong Kong, and I can see how different it is, and I can see when people from both sides make an argument or say like, oh, Hong Kong is China is a part of, or Hong Kong is a part of China, and then no, like Hong Kong's totally different. Hong Kong is not, right? It's we're Hong Kongers or something. I can see both points of view, but also how it's like, well, I guess people in Hong Kong that are super maybe pro-China, and they're like, Hong Kong is a part of China. I love China, but I'm like, listen, you live in basically a first world city. You've never lived in China before. So maybe instead of just being so blindly patriotic or like for whatever reason, you should, you know, go and live there for a while. But on the same sense, like, yeah, I guess people in Hong Kong have never lived in China before. So they have two different histories, and they have the reason their cultures are so different and the way people act are so different is because their histories are really have shaped them that way, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I guess it's more on the Chinese side. It's just a matter of fact. That's really the argument. There is no arguing that, I guess.
Yeah.
It's authority.
And you know, I don't mean to put you like on the spot, like, hey, you know everything about China and Hong Kong and stuff. It's just different, like a perspective. Like, why wouldn't China is so huge?
Yeah.
And China has already major cities that make a lot of money. Is the interest in Hong Kong? I mean, obviously Hong Kong is an economic a powerhouse, but does China need Hong Kong? Or why the need other than just, hey man, this is Hong Kong, this is China, it's ours, and let's take it, as opposed to like, just let them go. Why won't they?
It's hard to say. I mean, you know, you could really, I could think of an answer, but I don't know if it's any more or any more complicated than it's just power. You know, it's just a country. They're just a government. They're powerful. They're growing. And maybe for whatever reason, I don't know the big game plan. There's a lot of things that seem clear now, but who knows? But I think they maybe Hong Kong is a conduit, you know, economically for China. So it's a super important, I mean, it's less important now, but it does a lot of the GDP or a lot of the money going in and out of China goes through Hong Kong.
Okay.
Because it's their kind of like, cake and eat it too. Like they can have this socialist, or I should say capitalism, like manifestation in China, which is kind of like free market authoritarian. Like they don't have to, they can just do whatever they want. Right. And like kind of, take whatever land they want. It's privatized as like the states sort of thing. And basically the world doesn't want to directly do business with China or maybe transactions because they think that the system is shady or it's different. So all the money goes through Hong Kong. It's kind of the funnel in transactions both ways. I don't know. I probably don't know what I'm talking about right now, but anyways, I guess it's just like they want to, it seems maybe right now they want to totally take over Hong Kong. Yeah. I guess simply like maybe what's going on now is they're trying to totally take it. They saw the opportunity or they planned it out, and they want to try to use another Chinese city as the conduit because maybe they think that they're powerful enough, or you know, like I really don't know.
Okay,
but yeah,
so
it's a power grab.
Yeah, and that's basically what I'm understanding too. Now, so let me see if I actually got like what this thing in China is all about first, and then please correct me if I'm wrong, and then just from my viewpoint. So a couple of things that I think that set it off was the main bill was an extradition extradition bill that wants to basically grab all the criminals that are quote unquote hiding in China and extradite them or hiding in Hong Kong and extradite them to China.
Yeah.
But that and that sets off this whole sequence of events where the protesters now say, okay, well, that's just China trying to again impose their will on us. Now what they want to do is free the political prisoners is what it seems like, or who they think are political prisoners, because obviously China doesn't think that they are. They're rioters, right?
Yeah.
And change the term from riots to protests.
Yeah.
And missing a couple other things too.
Yeah.
But it seems like when you mentioned in the beginning, the first part of it, even though that bill has kind of, I guess, been redacted or they took it back or whatever, there's still a lot of unrest because something just needed to happen to trigger these protests and to let people know, and they want to be able to have free elections, right, for the people that represent them.
Suffrage-ish.
So if I understand that, it means that people in Hong Kong, essentially, in the most layman version, they don't get to pick all of their representatives. Right. It's like half of their Congress is already elected for them, and then only people that can vote, the elite, have the right to vote for the people that are left over for those seats. Right. Is that basically like
somewhat like
an overgeneralization of what's going on?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, one thing that just happened, for example, is they have a bunch of pro-democracy people for the Congress there that were going to be elected, right? It was going to be a landslide, really, like a bunch of people, district elections, and all of those district elections just got canceled because of what's going on. So, yeah, there's really... that seemed kind of hopeful for people there, but now it's like that's dead. And also, actually, the Hong Kong High Court just said they ruled against this. There was an anti-mask law. It's like an emergency law that the British actually enacted before in '67 because there were a bunch of riots. It was like the opposite. It was like pro-China communists in Hong Kong that were protesting. And it got super bad, so the British enacted this emergency law. But anyways, the Hong Kong High Court just recently said, no, this law, just now they did, which is weird, but they said, no, this law is no good, and then I might be getting this wrong, just a disclaimer, but I believe this is what happened. The People's Republic of China, the basically central government told the Hong Kong central government that they cannot make this decision, which is supposedly, since it's two systems, they're supposed to be able to make this decision.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things like that going on that make it seem very, rigged like it always was. It's amazing how people still do it, and just don't say screw it. Like, I'm done with this. Like, I'm done. Like, we're so, at least myself, growing up here by the age of, I don't know, when I was able to vote, I didn't want to because I was so apathetic towards, politics. It's just like a lot of noise and it just seems like a bunch of lies and whatever. I don't want to deal with that. But people there is really, really active, really involved, and they still keep getting beat down in this way. So,
At one point during this whole ordeal, did you decide, I need to pick up my camera and I need to document this and I need to show someone my point of view on this? Was there like a specific event that made you go, I got to get out there?
Yeah, I think it's like I always carry around a compact camera. Like, that's just what I like to use because it's convenient and I can pull it, fits in your pocket and you can have it on the go. And I always carry one around. So I guess whenever you see something you're drawn to, like emotionally or for whatever other reason, to take a picture, you do it. And then this whole thing has been going for 6 months. So it's like, it's always around you, always. And so you basically, you don't have to look for it. It's there. And for example, about a month ago, I moved to more central in the city. And this is actually the most volatile part of Hong Kong with what's going on. So literally, I just have to walk downstairs and I'm in it. Like, I'm on the front line of what's going on. So it's not, it's like, I do feel drawn. I do want to document it. Like, I think from an outsider's perspective, a lot of artists, filmmakers, photographers I like were like, they were not from the country they lived in and they seem to see it in a good way, or just, they can be, for some reason they could document it or whatever. It's a unique perspective. So I also feel drawn to do that, I guess. But just because it also feels what's going on there feels very unjust to me. And I see the police brutality and the repression of just people walking around trying to live their lives every day. And that really gets to you after a while. And I'm not trying to be biased on one side. Like, I'm for, I don't like governments, like governments are generally, maybe they don't always have the people's best interests, right? So, but when you see this stuff go on day in, day out, it does make you feel helpless. You feel like a sense of, well, what can you do anyway? So I suppose in a sense, if you can use whatever it is you do, your creative outlet to channel that or whatever, that's also therapeutic for yourself. And that seems, I guess, part of the reason too, what it's turned into. Because in the beginning it was like, just take a picture. I'm drawn to this. It's very interesting. A lot of interesting street art, posters, flyers. But then it really turned into something else. I think what's going on right now, like just as far as it's therapeutic, but also you want to kind of document what's going on.
And tell
which is pretty messed up.
Tell a story.
Yeah.
In a more significant sense.
Yeah, definitely.
As an outsider, do you think there was something else that would have been more beneficial that the government and the police could do as opposed to what they ended up doing? Was there a better, is there a sense that there was a better way to handle this?
Yeah, for sure. I think just right now it seems very clear that I'm not saying that people don't, that they're not accountable for their actions, but, the whole strategy of the government or using the police is they kind of create this in a way. Like they don't stop people from doing stuff, or they stand back, or they try to trigger people emotionally. And after 6 months, people are super emotional. They're like, I'm ready. They're suicidal. They're ready to die. It's like, it's very, very gloomy. But yeah, I think that a lot of times what they'll do is stand back for a while and kind of like poke at people, and the people will do something and then they'll attack, or they'll just wait. And I think that this whole, what's going on, the destruction, the streets are on fire, I watched Joker in the movie theater and then I walked out into Joker on the streets.
Yeah.
Like, it was literally the same thing. But literally, I think that the police are creating this, or the government, is creating this situation through many different means. And yeah, I think it could have been prevented for sure. I mean, they didn't listen. And I think it is very telling when you have a fourth, a third of the population go out into the street on a Sunday saying they want these things, and the government doesn't do anything, right? And they don't listen. It falls on deaf ears. And then months later, they say, okay, well, we'll do this, what you want, like one of these things, right, to make you happy now, after months. Like, why not do it right away? So it seems very that's the strategy, to make them emotional, pissed off, and just to kind of create a general sense of chaos. And why would they want to do that? I don't know. Maybe to take it over, like in different means, to have I think they want a reason to have a tighter grip, like China has a tighter grip around Hong Kong in a lot of ways. So,
but what you were saying earlier, as far as basically you being, or your job letting you go, is that it has economically, I don't know if crippled might be an exaggeration, but it has definitely affected Hong Kong economy wise.
Yeah, definitely.
Being from, it's something about, now I don't know anything about economics, but it seems like since it started, the economy's been on decline.
Yeah, definitely.
And all of a sudden, it just seems like if I was somebody trying to impose my will in a city, that'd be one of the first things that whatever the strongest thing that holds on to the city, I don't know, maybe I would attack, because it is Hong Kong at a standstill right now for the most part, as far as like people going to work every day, that as far as business wise.
I mean, well, basically schools have been canceled like for a while. I don't know when they're like every level. And people, they could try to go to work, right? But they might not be able to go. And I think a strategy also by protesters, is that they want to bring the economy down, because they think that is the leverage, that it's a leverage point as well. And that, like, if they, slow it down enough, then maybe their demands, their voices will be heard. But I really think it's just a sadistic plan all along, that maybe that China thinks like, oh, this is what we want anyways.
Okay.
Or they're planning this. I really don't know. But yeah, as far as what's going on the street, it is very much so at a standstill. Maybe you can or can't go to work. And I think the next year is going to be pretty apocalyptic there in a lot of ways. I mean, even tomorrow could be, or I haven't checked the news in a while. I don't know what's going on right now. So might be that way right now.
Yeah, it's very difficult from at least my viewpoint not to paint China as the bad guy in this whole ordeal. I mean, how far away from the university are you in central Hong Kong?
Yeah, well, the one in PolyU where all the stuff was just going on is pretty close to me.
Okay.
You could walk from where I live, you could walk there in like 10 minutes. It's in a lot of people live around that area.
That looks like a war zone.
Yeah.
At least from the pictures that
I was pretty shocked too. I mean, I've seen or been on the street a lot of the time when it has felt like maybe some kind of Fallujah-esque environment, although I don't think it's that bad. But definitely those images look pretty intense, pretty crazy.
Have you ever felt that I am surprised at the little amount of casualties that are being reported. I'm sure, I don't know if they're not true, but there's been one death, obviously a bunch of people wounded, and a few suicides. Have you ever felt where your safety, or you and your family safety have been in, or friends have been in danger at all? I mean, again, just going off, I mean, you see the reoccurring shot is the protesters throwing Molotov cocktails at the cops, and that fire in that truck just burning up. And I'm like, man, how did someone not get hurt there?
Well, I think in that particular instance, most of the people on the ground were probably fighting the battle. I think in that particular instance. But yeah, I mean, casualty wise, one thing a lot of Western press, English press doesn't pick up, that if you read Chinese, you definitely know about, is since this whole thing has started, there have been more than like 100 mysterious suicides. Yeah. So basically, if a protester, or anybody for that matter, gets arrested, because safety wise, the biggest safety concern is now that the Hong Kong police are really acting authoritarian and almost in a lot of ways worse than the Chinese police. They can just arrest you for any reason. Any reason. It doesn't matter. They just take you, like, disappear you, whatever. I've seen it on both sides. I've seen it, like, innocent people walking down the street, and maybe they were pissed and they said something to the cop. Like, it's easy to rile the police feathers because a lot of them maybe have, like, some kind of PTSD from this whole thing, and maybe they're taking speed. I don't know. And they just flip out, and they'll just tackle a dude who just yelled something at him. Like, "Dile no mo," which is like, "Go fucking mom," or something, like, just something, you know, and it just,
inappropriate.
Yeah, something inappropriate, but it, you know, is really uncalled to disappear a person over that. But basically, when they do arrest somebody now, if there's press around or anybody filming it, they'll ask the person, like, "What's your name?" They'll try to ask them, "What's your name?" So you can follow through with it that person is still alive later, because they're supposed to hold you for about 48 hours and then let you go. But yeah, since this whole thing has been happening, dead bodies show up everywhere. Naked. I'm talking like Laura Palmer wrapped in plastic. Like,
wow.
Crazy torture-ish looking bodies. And they show up in the bushes, and it's like, oh, they fell from the 10th floor.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, his body looks bloated, like it's been underwater for a while, and his skin's purple. And I mean, so that happens quite often, like every day there's a body found. There was one, like, right next to our apartment in the bushes. So I would say there have been a lot of casualties that are probably underreported, especially by Western press, you know, CNN, that sort of thing. And even English press, which there isn't a whole lot of in Hong Kong, doesn't report about it. But yeah, officially there has not been a lot of casualties officially. So, and that is surprising too, but I guess if you live in Hong Kong for a while, it's very non-confrontational. It's not really a violent place. It really was, before this, the safest city in, I mean, I don't know about the world, but at least in Asia that I've been to, for sure. So, yeah, I mean, casualty-wise, I don't know, like, officially.
Yeah.
But, people there are very careful. They're not clumsy too, so that could be why.
Okay.
You know, I'm pretty clumsy moving over there. Like, I get, you make a loud sound and everybody looks at you, and I, you know, just clumsy, so.
Yeah. That was one of the other things I think that they, on one of the demands, is that a lot of people were disappearing from hospital beds, and they were, people found out who they were through, exploiting the Privacy Act that they have there too, and so that's definitely a big human rights issue that on that point. Do you have anyone in your you or anyone in your complex? Did you guys have anything personal that happened to you that was just like, man, this is out of hand, this is crazy, something maybe some personal that you caught on with your camera?
I did, yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff. Basically, going to take pictures, seeing a lot of things happen, but there's a lot of press that are around probably filming it anyways and live streaming it. That's one really great thing about Hong Kong, is they have a very strong fourth state. They have a very strong press, and, you know, a lot of it is maybe biased or a little bit, you know, CNN-y or something to one perspective, or New York Times, or whatever you want to say. And some of it is Fox News-ish.
Yeah.
It's that like just blatantly what? But, yeah, I mean, it's, you do see a lot of things. I see a lot of things from like my window, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of arrests. And now when people get arrested, and especially when it's a protester on the front line or something, you know, the cops are basically, they're out to totally kill, like, now. So the stuff I saw happening at the university was just like a kid on the ground being dragged, kind of moving, and then just 20 cops with batons like aiming for his head. And then like if he tries to move again and twitch, it's just like going back at it. So that doesn't always happen, but it's a pretty good sign of what's happening. And yeah, I would say especially in the community I live in, those people are so pissed. They're so upset. I mean, they get harassed by police. They walk through these crazy busy streets. It's the highest density neighborhood with people in the world, right?
Yeah.
And they literally dress like these stormtroopers, I guess, like, you know, but before they looked more snazzy. But they have these stormtrooper like helmets, boots, and they're just like, you know,
when I first
high stepping it through
it, so this thing screams out, obviously, cry for help sort of thing. And when I first heard of these protests and these things coming out, the thing that really stood out to me is that they were asking Donald Trump for help.
Yeah.
Now, without trying to get too crazy, my knee-jerk reaction is these people have no idea who this guy is.
Right.
But now listening to it, it's like they're crying for help, and it doesn't matter where they get the help from.
For sure, it doesn't matter.
That they'll even ask this guy for help, who could probably, you know, give two shits about what's going on.
Right, yeah.
So is this like the more or less the idea, like, dude, someone help us sort of thing internationally outside, to where, hey, anyone with any sort of clout.
Yeah, it's like, go ahead, ask Patrick Bateman or whatever the, you know, main character in American Psycho to help you out. Like, right? Let's see what happens in any capacity. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a couple things. There's this U.S. Hong Kong bill that actually just passed the Senate, and it's going to go to Trump's desk for him to sign. So we'll see if all that Trump hat donning, shirt wearing that I saw is going to help out. I don't know. But even if he passes it, if he signs it, it might actually have a negative effect too. I think that the long-term consequences of, you know, asking for U.S. help or for the U.S. helping anybody is, you know, it's a gamble.
Yeah.
But the long-term consequences might not be too great. Who am I to tell people though, right? If there's a war happening, I think, and you're a journalist and you want to explain something like this to the people that are being bombed, they only, I imagine, hear bombs falling and, you know, that kind of stuff. So whatever helps, right? Like immediacy. And so for one, it's a cry for help and, in certain capacity. And for two, a lot of the American flag waving that I saw is also like a big middle finger to the Chinese government.
Okay.
Because the Chinese government, their whole thing is like, oh, black hands, CIA operatives in Hong Kong and these Western countries headed by the U.S. meddling in China, right? And it's like, actually, people there know that, and so they know that waving an American flag will piss the Chinese government off even more, so they do it even harder. It's just like, they're kind of funny that way. But yeah, I've been to a couple of the rallies they had, and I have never seen so many American flags in my life. My life, anywhere. You know,
oh wow,
a Trump rally or any rally is gonna pale in comparison. I mean, any 4th of July would pale in comparison to how many U.S. flags you saw. And that's what I'm saying also about the Hong Kong kind of like energy when something catches fire, boom, it's like everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and yeah, a lot of Trump, and I think for, any U.S. citizen that is, especially people usually living abroad, have a pretty good sense of U.S. geopolitics, right? And it's like, you see that, what is strange, bizarre, what's this? But you do get it, I guess, after a while. It kind of makes sense. They don't care who Donald Trump is.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's like, I don't care. Is he going to help us? Maybe, you know,
he's just the figurehead of the thing that China hates the most, I guess.
Right, yeah. So, you know, love him or hate him, I guess, if you think it's fortunate or unfortunate that this guy is the face of what these people are asking for help from, then I don't know.
So all this is going on in China. It's extremely emotional, extremely divisive, of course. And this is what's fueled your photography while you're walking around, just basically soaking all this in.
Yeah.
Is there something that has probably changed in you that you now hadn't experienced before, that you now as a photographer look at the world a little differently, as you're even from something as basic as composition to something as being able to get right in the thick of things to capture? Is there any sort of change that happened to you creatively with this?
I think I just maybe want to, I guess I feel different after, just in the sense where I really feel like taking pictures of stuff. Like I don't feel like taking pictures of maybe stuff that I would have wanted to take pictures of before. And if it leaves me kind of drained to where like I do want to go photograph something intense and I feel drawn to that thing, something chaotic, especially what's going on there. But I would say that it just kind of changed, and also to get as close as possible to what's happening there and to photograph it. But yeah, I guess that has changed the way I feel, I guess, because a lot of what I photograph, and maybe it's shitty for that reason, but it is like based off of like how I feel. So take a picture, like it's something to do with a feeling. And I suppose that changed a lot of my feelings, this experience. And so usually when I come back to the US visiting or something, I'm willing to go around and take a picture of anything, like a building or just downtown Phoenix, how it's changing, especially. But I just I feel like everything lost its color after that, actually.
Wow.
So it's not that I don't. I mean, I really, really love to print, and I like to take pictures, but right now I kind of don't feel like it. I just feel like maybe after you take a bunch of pictures of that, you're like, I just want to decompress. Or like just in general, when you go through that, like we got off a plane and came here, and my wife instantly feels relaxed. It's like we just want to decompress, and you're out of that situation. It feels pretty nice. So, I mean, like I don't know if what it changed other than how I feel about taking a photo, but I guess feelings aren't very permanent, so
hopefully it'll come back around and we will take pictures of
but I definitely want to go back and take pictures of what's going on there.
Yeah.
If I'm living in it, definitely, or going to a conflict area or something.
Do you work with somebody? Like, I was thinking, if I was there and I started thinking about your situation a little bit, I'm like, dude, I wouldn't go out there by myself. I'd go out with a buddy or somebody, like, hey, let's go to this district, and if something happens, if we get lost at this time, let's meet here, and if we're not there, something, I don't know, because maybe I'm blowing out of proportions. You just said something that maybe it's not that bad, but in some cases, if you've seen some kid get beat over the head, just because of twitching, I mean, that's surreal to me.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a little community of people, of photographers that go out there, or are you still comfortable going out there by yourself and not too concerned about your safety?
I probably should be more concerned about it. Okay. And I probably should go out there with somebody, but I honestly I know a lot of people that take pictures there, especially film photography, and people, like a lot of local guys, and I think they might have somebody, but it's probably more solitary because it's easier to do. And you have to be really fast. So if you're working with a team, and maybe if you like are press or something, you have a team of people. And I probably should go out with somebody when I go, but it's usually like a spur of the moment. It's really in the moment. You never know when something is going to happen. So it's kind of hard to plan out in that regard. But I mean, I think that I definitely should be more worried about it, because at this point you really don't know what's going to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has it gotten to the point where you feel the need to document what's going on and not just give your perspective, but just overall document it maybe in a different way that's being mainstream media is portraying it? Obviously, the pictures that I see on there, they look like a damn war zone.
Yeah.
Do you think you capture a little bit more detail, a little bit more funneled vision with your photography than is otherwise shown? I mean, some of the stuff that you sent me today is just, I mean, apocalyptic, to say the least. This is the 21st century, man. It looks like something out of, the Middle Ages sort of thing.
Yeah, it was a highly, developed city by the people there, and then it was like British government, whatever. But yeah, to see it go from that to what is happening now, it does make you wonder. Wait, what was your question?
Do you feel that like the need to document it in your perspective than just the mainstream stuff that we're seeing?
I guess, yeah, maybe. It's just like, I like to do this thing and I'm there and it kind of, everything just happens. I feel the need for myself and for other people. I think anybody who is making content about it, it's very important, and so many people do. And I think that's really great. I think that's the most positive thing that happens after. I mean, culture is created from these kinds of problems, right? And so everything in the US that we have that's wonderful comes from something negative. And so, yeah, I do feel like a need to do it because of that. And I think so many people do. You walk around the city and it's just plastered with street art. It's plastered with printers. Graphic designers finally have like something else to do besides besides their work that they might not like so much. Because you walk down the street, it's just flyered out and just really creative, super awesome. I mean, yeah, the what it has bred, this problem, the culture that it has bred is so nice. And I think that it's taking pictures is just a small part of that. And like there's a lot of really good photographers working just for themselves, maybe for a press organization too. So yeah, it's nice to see their work as well. It's really, really nice.
What are some of the images that stand out to you that you've taken? And we're going to get to sharing them. Like, definitely we need to catch some of these stories. That is there like a few in particular that just absolutely like you were there at the right time or at the wrong time, or is there?
Yeah, I think a couple of the arrests I had a camera on me or film was like, I wish I could have got like a better angle or something, but at least like those stick out because they were pretty brutal. And seeing the whole thing happen, I guess one in particular was like, the frontline protesters were pushing forward, in a wall of umbrellas towards the police station, just trying to get closer, put pressure on the cops. And I suppose, but this time the strategy was like the cops shot a bunch of tear gas and then they ran through this cloud of tear gas smoke and tried to take down a bunch of protesters, because sometimes, or a lot of times, the riot cops will storm the front line and try to make arrests that way, but you don't know when they're going to do it. And this time was just they used the diversion of a bunch of tear gas smoke. And so like that time really sticks out to me because I saw the whole thing play out and it seemed like kind of like slow motion. And it was pretty risky being there because I was kind of like usually when I go there, it's kind of like in between like maybe the press, medics, and the people on the front line. And
there's a little barrier.
No, there's no barrier. It's pretty mixed actually.
Oh.
But the cops usually target the people in black with umbrellas per se.
Okay.
But you never know. They arrest and spray and shoot journalists and medics all the time. But I would say, well, I don't know if it's generous saying 70% of the time they're targeting people protesting, maybe only 50% of the time. But anyways, this time I saw this action that I was able to capture. And so that kind of seems unique. And a more funny time was this guy. He was a tourist. I don't know where he was from. It might have been Japan. He was with his dad, and he had no gear on at all, no gas mask on, nothing. Just totally looks like a regular dude with just a really big DSLR, like, I don't know, some Canon or whatever, and tear gas is shooting from the Lyco, from the government building, shooting towards the front line, and it's just like raining tear gas, and there's like 10 canisters on the ground all steaming out gas, and basically there's nobody else around. Press, everybody's getting away from this area, but this kid with no gear on just gets super close and gets right up. Like, I don't know why he gets so close, because his lens is so big he probably can get farther away, but he's getting super close up. He's just like, the tear gas covers his face. You know, it's crazy. And I got that on, it's not like, it's just funny when I think about it, because it was like, everybody's like, holy crap. His dad's like, come on. What are you doing? But he just get closer and closer. It was like, wow, that's crazy, man. Why don't you just like literally, I don't know. But yeah, those couple times. And I mean, I would say other than that though, every time is usually like a lot of the photos that I take, it's just like, I'm not even hardly looking through the viewfinder. It's like, it's hard. I mean, I am, but it happens so fast that you don't really recall what's going on. So, and then you kind of maybe remember it later when you see a picture or something like that.
What? You mentioned something in the other picture, I forgot. What exactly is the umbrella thing happening there? Symbolism isn't, if it's symbolism, I'm not getting it. If it's some sort of protection from tear gas, I don't understand that either.
Yeah.
I know there was something called the Umbrella Revolution.
Yeah.
But I don't know what that is.
That was something that happened in 2014, which I guess is kind of the same kind of, it was maybe the seeds were planted that, and they're blossoming into what's happening now. But yeah, it was called the Umbrella Revolution because somebody used an umbrella as protection, I believe. I would have to look that up exactly. But it was there. It rains a lot in Hong Kong. There's lots of umbrellas, so it's a very utilitarian kind of device where, yeah, it can be used for protection a lot. And that's actually a really good symbol, because I would say that the whole protest movement in general is very defensive, right? These kids are, what do they have, right? Against this police state, or this big, like, you know, the police have everything, man. They've got auditory weapons, or whatever, the sound cannons, these like newly developed ones that'll scramble your brain. And these kids have umbrellas. And I guess in a wall, it is fairly protective, because the police they're using lethal, but not a lot of live ammunition right now. So it will block a rubber bullet, maybe, if you have a lot of them. So it does, I would say it does help.
Okay.
And it is symbolic of kind of what's maybe going on too.
More of a pacifist sort of symbol as opposed to like, I mean, guns aren't legal in Hong Kong, are they?
No.
God damn, if everyone had a gun.
Yeah. That's what they think.
None of this would be happening, right?
I don't know, man. You could go to Asia, you could go to the Philippines. There's more actually per capita firearms in the US, I believe, in the Philippines. And yeah, you wouldn't, I don't know if you want to live. I felt so safe for so long in Hong Kong because there aren't firearms, you know, and they're rarely used. And we're seeing it happen more often now. And yeah, you wouldn't want that for sure. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends. Again, I don't know. Don't have much firearm myself experience, so I can't really talk from that side.
Especially being from Arizona, you don't have an arsenal or anything?
I might when I come back after this, man. I might stock up.
Hell yeah. So you're out and about, and you carry mostly a compact camera?
Yeah.
35 millimeter.
Mostly. Contax T2 maybe, okay. Or something like a Yashica T4 or something, and then like a couple, just a small rangefinder. I really like this. I have a Konica Auto S2. It's a little clunkier, but it's super cheap and affordable, and takes pretty good pictures, and it's all manual, so it's
nice.
But yeah, just mostly compact.
And So you grab these films and then you go home and you develop them yourself?
Yeah.
Do you, the texture and the contrast on your film is, I love it. It reminds me of another Japanese photographer. How do you process your film? Is it just standard D76 or
kind of a concoction of like I kind of mixed some developers into a standard development. But I really got to mess around with that when I worked at the like the film lab or whatever. I got to, since I was doing that every day, I could just like really play around with different developers and try stand development with certain ISO and see what kind of result, what kind of time, temperature. Because also like another photographer in Hong Kong, I was developing his film and he had this crazy dilution, like was trying out different stuff. It would be like DDX, like 1 to 29, 18 degrees, 3.5 hours, or it would be like 1 to 19, 20 degrees for 3 hours. I don't know. But then I really liked his results with a certain type of film, and I was kind of doing something else. So I kind of just messed around with it, and I just find whatever is really super high contrast, I really like a lot. Probably because of a lot of Japanese photographers, stuff like that.
Because that formula seems it's like very fitting for what's happening with the pictures that you take. Not only is the political climate so divisive, but your photography is very contrasty and also divides. It like splits shadows and light very well to the point where it's like, dude, that's exactly what's happening in quote unquote real life. And are you also, because I've seen on your feed too, you also work on not double exposures, but you put one image on and superimpose it on another a lot, and that's all in the dark room, right?
Yeah. It's kind of like a composite, or you basically just make a mask, I guess, and expose where you want to. You make a mask over whatever two images you want to make, and then you kind of project another image over another image, I guess. I don't know how to. You expose a paper and then put it back in the bag, and then put the mask on and expose another one where you want the other image to go. And sometimes it's nice. Sometimes it has a nice effect if you have a lot of time to spend. Doing that sort of thing. So,
you lose time in the dark room for sure.
But I mean, like, I never knew how. I think I read like how Dolly did his stuff, like his really cool surrealist, like kind of composite, like the mouth in the sky, stuff like that. But that stuff looks super smooth, and sometimes you can get it to look that way, but it's very I don't know.
How long did it take you to come up with your formula for stand developing?
Probably like a dozen rolls or something.
Okay.
Yeah, a dozen to 16 rolls. I don't know, because it could come out different every time depending on, the conditions you're shooting in, I guess. Well, yeah, generally I kind of have it down now, but I mean, whatever. I'm open to anything. I love
stand developing. That's how I develop all my film.
Yeah.
I just use Rodinal though.
Yeah.
But what are the advantages that you see with stand developing as opposed to standard tumbling or mixing and stuff?
I guess basically it seems to bring out more detail and more contrast really to like the image, but it can be grainier,
Yeah.
But I like that. So I think as far as traditional black and white photography, it's not, people won't like it because it's not, very tonal. I don't know, but it doesn't, you don't see a lot of that like tonality in it maybe, other than it's just this and that. But it does bring out, I think, more detail at night, especially. Like, I find it does, and it seems to just, blacker and whiter at night bring out more detail, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't, but it's just something to do.
Yeah.
Something to mess around with, it's like, you like to spend time in the dark room, and you kind of just like to do nothing for a long time, basically. Yeah. So that might be why.
And again, in Hong Kong, photo supplies, well, at least before all this, they're just readily available. I mean, because I'm thinking, it's China. Obviously, as an American, Hong Kong is China, but it's not. It's a big major city, 21st century city.
Yeah.
So again, going back to film, everything is just readily available there for you, as in any other place like New York, Los Angeles.
Yeah. It's nice that way. So I really wouldn't have even got into it and done it the way I'm doing it now if I wasn't living there, because it's so readily available, and you just discover something and it leads to the next thing, and it's nice.
So how many prints do you have from have you made from your work in Hong Kong, just this project?
I think I just counted and sent you.
It's 122.
Yeah, something like that, over 100.
Yeah,
but I'd have to recount again. But there are more too, but I left them in back in Hong Kong.
And
then I also have a lot that I wanted to print, but it's not. Maybe it's just like postcard stuff. A lot of half of them are like 5x7 postcard size. Because a lot of them are very graphic, where they are of the wall of the street art or something, and it kind of looks like a postcard. So there's just so much of that around. You really want to document the whole road that we live on. Is the median is just tagged up with different spray paint, different phrases, and in Chinese and English, and if we burn, you burn with us. It's so much good stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, really, and really striking in the midst of this, since Hong Kong is such a free market capitalist city, you have the same kind of advertising as Times Square in New York City. So anywhere you take a picture, it's going to be juxtaposed with that smiling couple in the background with their kids, and some phrase that literally is too ironic to even
it can't be real, right?
Yeah, harmony, eat together, live together, whatever, love together. I don't know, but it's too ironic.
Yeah, I mean the phrase that with the happy couple and their family there, and in the background it says, "If you burn, we burn."
Yeah.
And there's a fire explosion going in the background.
You pick it, man. It's literally anything like that.
And I already know this is going to be a silly question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Obviously, you have a showing here soon, but is there a place right now where you can exhibit your work in this climate in Hong Kong, or is this something that you're just going to have to wait for something to at least cool off a little bit?
That's really not a silly question, because I don't know. Actually, I do know of some places which exhibit work related to this. I mean, about this. And it's maybe different mediums. A really cool couple exhibits they had was about the print media and the different magazine covers that have been made, or just print related to what's going on, about every rally they were having. And it's really, really nice. But photography, I think there have been a couple, but as the climate gets more intense, you're going to see less of it. It's getting a little bit, it's really sensitive now.
Yeah.
And so people are really, especially if you have a business, it's super sensitive. It's you don't know which way, what should I do? Some people want you to claim loyalty to this. Some people want you to claim loyalty to that. Some people believe in the movement, or they believe in the people, and they want to support the people, but also have a business at the same time. So it's very, what do I do? So, and I think that generally speaking, people that want to exhibit their work there, they do it in the way that feels right, because I don't know if I would actually even feel right about showing it there, because I think people just see this stuff every day, and they don't need to be reminded of that. Maybe later. I know a few Hong Kong photographers and Japanese photographers that are showing this work in Tokyo or Japan, because it's super photogenic and everybody does different kinds of work. There's this guy named Eric Culler definitely look him up on Instagram or whatever social media. But he does beautiful color photography of everything that's going on. A lot of like portraits of people.
Okay,
super nice. But yeah, in Hong Kong, I don't know. Maybe not so.
Not yet.
Yeah, maybe not yet. I think a lot of good stuff will come from it, though. Really, it's already. So, yeah.
Which brings me actually, you saying that now. You have your showing of photography, and I think that it's weird, or maybe even funny, that of all the cities maybe that you could have chosen, or you could have exhibit this kind of display, it's going to be in Phoenix, which historically speaking, and is basically a red state, very conservative, and I am very curious as to the type of reactions one would get from that sort of event that's happening. Have you given any thought as to like what someone who's a conservative might think versus someone who's a liberal might think of this? And again, without trying to get really stupid political, but more as
Let's get there.
as more of as a thought process of what your intention of your photography, of your work, and of your showing is, as opposed to what maybe someone grabs from that and takes from their own. Is there anything that like you've thought about that might be like, man, I hope they don't get the wrong idea or out of this?
Yeah, I think a lot of the. I mean, I thought that exact same thing with a lot of the imagery of American flags and a lot of the imagery of people that are, someone has the lyrics of the Star Spangled Banner, I think, and they're singing it, and
wow,
that kind of stuff is going to ring true to people in a certain way. How do you see the world? What is your perspective, right? It's like any issue, but especially this issue, and as a U.S. citizen. So maybe my grandma, as much as I love her, she might think something differently about these images than myself, or somebody else who, even somebody who I think I'm more apolitical, really, but definitely, I think that someone might see it a certain way. For example, a lot of the U.S. supporter politicians, you have like, I think Marco Rubio or something, or Ted Cruz or whoever, and a couple of them have even been to Hong Kong and also supporting the Hong Kong Democracy Act or whatever it's called, which also should raise a red flag if you're a U.S. citizen. But I think it's, you have to be like, okay, why are these people here? What's going on? And I don't take them at face value that they mean what they say. But I guess in one sense, everybody can see them the same way. If you live in the U.S. and you do have, some sort of benefit that other people don't have in the world, I mean, I guess it's, doesn't make me patriotic in any way, but I do like the fact, like that if you live here, it's nice that you don't have to worry about certain things that other people do in other parts of the world. But yeah, I don't know how people would see a picture like the American flag stuff, or a Star Spangled Banner, and it might make people more emboldened in what they believe, like already. But it definitely will make you, I hope someone would question, like, what the heck, they really like freedoms, or like, what is it, right, about that? And also the fact that these images are in really stark black and white, I think, which is a nice, anyways, juxtaposition of, the American flag. It looks nice in black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
What, is there, again, thinking as an ignorant American here, I think the point that, is going to be lost on a lot of us is that the Hong Kong is not China, that it is Hong Kong, that they're not Chinese, even though that we think that they are. And there is, I think that distinction has to be made in order to understand what's going on out there. because you look at countries that are fighting within themselves, and it's just like, as opposed to America, where it's very racially divided in certain parts, where like, okay, we know who the good guys are, we know who the bad guys are,
right,
or what we perceive who are the good guys and bad guys are.
Yeah.
But again, looking at it very Americanized, you look at Hong Kong and China, it's like, they're just fighting among themselves. What's going on?
Yeah.
Is there like maybe a specific photograph that you think might be able to say, hey, this is the defining moment, this is what separates Hong Kong from China, in a moment, or maybe a photograph that you've seen that you maybe that inspired you in some way?
Yeah, I think a lot of any of the photographs, I mean, of people marching or holding up a flag or holding up a sign or anything, voicing an opinion at all is the difference. Because in China, you can't have an opinion at all. And that's another thing about, even if it's positive towards the government, it'll get censored online. So even if you're like, I love Xi Jinping or whatever, Xi Ji Dada or whatever they say, so cute and blah, blah, blah. But they'll take that off the internet like lickety-split. They don't want people to have any voice or opinion. It's in the Chinese government's eyes, it's not their business. The common people, whatever. So I would say, yeah, if you see a picture at all of people marching or voicing an opinion in any way, then that is the difference.
That's how we know who is in Hong Kong, is the fact that they are very expressive and they have an opinion, and they are going to express it, as opposed to maybe someone in China who would be more reserved and wouldn't.
Yeah, they don't talk about it.
Wouldn't be able to. Are you going to show your work? So your work is going to be shown this Friday, or?
Yeah, we're actually working on that right now. We're gonna hang it tomorrow.
Sure.
We'll have I think we'll do like a soft opening for it, and then we'll be showing for first Friday in December, and then we'll see where that goes. I'd like to,
yeah.
Awesome. Now, I think I obviously, without even seeing the whole body of work that you've done, and bringing up the fact that people value their freedom and they look towards in a weird way. And I say weird because right now, let's just say in America, we don't exactly have the cleanest house out there right now. You know? Our White House isn't exactly nice and white right now. But even despite that, people still look towards America as a symbol of what's possible and what should be.
Yeah.
What would you like to have people overall take away, despite their political, at the very least, take away from the work and from the images that you show of this huge thing happening over there? Is there something that you would hope people would take away more than anything else?
I guess just that it exists and to know it all about the situation, just on a very base level, like that they just know what's going on at all. Because if anybody sees it and realize, oh, what's Hong Kong, what's the situation, what's going on, if they and then they maybe know a little bit more about it, then that's fine. You know, like, just because I think a lot of people there also feel hopeless because, you know, their voice is not heard. Sometimes it comes up and it's a blurb in the international press or, you know, wherever you see it and hear it, because it's not, you know, there's a lot going on in the world, and it's just like a tiny bleep on the radar. So yeah, I guess at all people that go through, one, it's like Phoenix Film Revival is pretty awesome, and it's nice that it's like, I know people that go there will at least like the fact that it's printed on paper and stuff, and or that's a silver gelatin print might be interesting because it's that, and then also because of what the image is. So yeah, I just ask questions, right? Like, see it, ask questions. What's going on here? Because I wouldn't expect anybody to even know, you know, what, like, Hong Kong, how's Japan? Is that, my uncle's always like, how's Japan?
Yeah, okay.
How's that? But I don't like blame him, right? I mean, I know what it's like. The US, you live here and it's a big country, just like China's a big country, and people also don't have the best idea about the rest of the world, and it's not your fault or anything like that. It's just like, it's where you live, and you got to worry about what's going on around you, So just the fact that you have an awareness or something, I guess.
We were going to put a border wall around New Mexico.
Yeah. Did you ever even think?
Wait, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that?
See, I don't know. Is this a thing recently?
Yeah. Oh shoot, trying to blank on that. Yeah, they were wanting to put a border wall around New Mexico, thinking that it was Mexico.
Oh, okay. They didn't want
to
to see New Mexico. Didn't want to.
I think that was Trump that said that.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly.
Yeah,
but
wow.
Yeah, people don't know their
that's
geography.
For sure. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's Have you taken any of these images on digital at all, or did that even? As far as maybe a reference point, but because to me it seems very poignant that all this work is on film. Yeah. I mean, obviously, being a film nerd, it to me this work almost had to be on film as opposed to something that's about as easily. Let's just say easily processed in a digital. All the work that you're showing is on film, right? Yeah. Did you even take a digital camera out, or is digital camera even something that you use as a tool or anything like that, other than maybe your phone with a snapshot, or do you create with digital? Is I guess what I'm asking.
No, but it's not that I have anything. Like, I never really thought about it. It's just other than my iPhone and, to take videos with an iPhone, and then maybe to take a picture, but I don't really have a digital camera. So if I did have one and I wouldn't mind getting one. And if I knew I could create something that I liked, visually, but it's just I already do this and have this stuff. So I never really, I've never taken one out, but I do know a couple of people that shoot a lot on film, but maybe their work started, they got a job doing some press or whatever, so they started to, just practically you have to.
Yes.
Right? And I don't, so I mean, that's not a bad job.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind having that, and I would definitely use digital for that, no problem.
Yeah.
But it's just the fact that I can have a lot of control, and then if you like to print, then you can go and print it and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So
what's next? So you're going to be in Phoenix or in the United States for a little while, decompress.
Yeah.
And by the way, I apologize for having you relive all that in your decompression time.
Good. It's therapeutic, I guess.
What's next? What do you want to do when you get back? Is it more of documenting this, or what would you like to keep doing with this? Just with the work.
I would just do the same thing.
Hopefully find a conclusion to the...
Yeah, hopefully. But it's either do that or, I mean, really maybe even, I don't know, I might move out of Hong Kong if it, because it's China has crazy face recognition technology.
Oh, wow.
That certain Western tech companies help them develop.
Mm-hmm.
Not all, but some. And so it's I'm not saying bad about anything particularly they're so evil because they have this thing that, everybody has it, but they're going to really use it hard, and they're going to use it in the sense where they're going to collect all your data, anything you've been doing. They have a lot of AI going on with aggregates, so they can easily filter your information. So if you've been posting anything on social media or anything like that, they find out. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? So that's a genuine, seems like it's a far off fear, but everything happens overnight there. It's just all of a sudden this is happening. So I know that sounds a little paranoid, maybe a little schizophrenic, but it's really seriously not. And if you're talking to somebody in Hong Kong and you're like, oh, that seems, are you sure? It's no, they will they lose all expression on their face and look at you very seriously. It's no, man, pull all your money out of the bank right now. Get ready, stock your house up with canned beans or whatever. a lot of instant noodles, and just get ready for it because you never know. But yeah, so I don't know. Maybe what's next? Maybe just move out of there. But if I do, I'll probably live there a little while longer and see how it goes, and hope for the best.
Yeah,
and just keep doing it. Keep taking pictures of what's going on.
There's no fear of being deported from Hong Kong?
I don't know what they would do to me if they would deport. I'm okay with being deported as long as I can be with my family.
Okay.
Yeah. My actually biggest fear is that they're gonna, start taking kids from schools, and separating them from parents, because they're already doing that.
Yeah.
And if a kid is protesting or caught around there, they'll separate him from his parents and put him into some I don't know what care. So I'm a little bit worried about that. They do it in part of China called Xinjiang, which is close to Turkey. That's been in the news lately, or for a while. They have a big internment camps, millions of people, and they separate their kids, they repatriatize them or whatever, and basically it's not nice, and I don't want it to happen to my daughter.
Yeah.
She's half Chinese or half Hong Kongese, whatever.
Yeah.
And so obviously that's my first concern. And also my wife is from Hong Kong, and she's super afraid,
Okay.
Anybody living there is living in a, that kind of totalitarian nightmare.
Yeah.
So.
Is there anything we missed that might, as far as in your photography, that's going to be pointed out, or it's just something that overall that's happened that people need to know about that we may have missed here today that you'd like to bring home and make a big point out of?
I guess it's mostly, I don't know how we'll hang the pictures, but a lot of it chronologically, it goes from kind of more peaceful demonstrations and marches to a little bit more tear gas to some arrests. So it's kind of like that arc right now.
Yeah.
So, and hopefully, it doesn't get worse or anything like that. But that's really the only thing that I guess I would let people know about. And then maybe, hopefully I'll have some maybe information there about the situation, because it's a little bit, can be a little bit confusing, or there's a lot to take in. And I'm sorry I'm spewing all this stuff out, but it's just when I talk to Daniel the other night, talked for 3 hours, and it was just nonstop me telling him what's going on. And he's like, oh man, this is a lot to process.
Well, if you don't know,
because I can imagine, right? But
if you don't tell us, we don't know. I mean, it's
we're censored here.
Yeah,
and
it gets.
But that's like that everywhere, I guess.
Yeah,
and it gets to the last point. You getting a sense of what's going on there. Do you see any hope to this being resolved in a decent amount of time, or are you just basically almost given to the fact that you may have to move?
Yeah, I think the latter. I think it's the hopeful, the positive thing about it. I really don't want to move. I really like that place. I feel like it's home to me, especially if a lot of my latter life has been there. And I think that the positive about it is really the people, and what you've seen is blossomed and flowered out of the people. But the price that has been paid is so great for them, and I think China is just gonna tighten its grip even further, and it doesn't look good. I wish there was some kind of hope, and people really wanted hope before, and they really did, a lot of things. And actually, me listening to that, I really want to believe them too. But even then, it seemed a little bit I don't know, But maybe anything's possible, right?
Yeah.
But fall of the Berlin Wall, I don't know. China's not broke; it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, a lot of people think that maybe the fall of the economy or something is going to trigger something in China, blah, blah, blah. But then it's everybody in the world is so connected now that would just cause some kind of tidal wave. That's, I don't know. But yeah, I hope it ends really. There's some kind of resolution, and it goes back to some kind of normality, but I highly doubt it. People there totally lost any faith or trust in the government, the police, and like you're just walking. Cops are walking on the street and people are just shouting the worst things in Cantonese. And one really great thing about Cantonese is it's fun to swear. And there are like 10 ways to say the same kind of like go whatever your mom, but there are 10 different ways to say it. And it's real great. So, but yeah, you know, people, it's just randomly, people just, they have to get it out. People have to have some kind of release there. It's been, you know, months and months. And, but yeah, I don't know if it will get better. I hope so.
Well, I hogged up another one, Daniel. Sorry.
That's all good. You got the good questions.
I could sit here and again go another 3 hours talking about China and what, you know, is blossoming out of there, of course. And, you know, the beautiful thing is that, your work is blossoming out of that as well. But it just took something really tragic to be able to make something creative out of that. And hopefully you get to go back to shooting everyday things again soon after decompressing.
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah, but actually Hong Kong is it's a very photographic city. Anyways, so it's a nice place to be if you want to shoot.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see it totally collapse and then rebuild again.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe that.
I hope so. I don't know if the people, you know, they're not going to let any bricks be put into the street anymore. It's like take them back out.
All right. Well, man, I thank you so much for.
Thank you very much for having me and asking these questions. It's really, it's a really good thing to talk about. So I like it.
I hope so. I hope, you know, somebody else, at least a couple people out there, learn a little bit more about what's happening in China and what it means to specifically America, not just the rest of the world.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's nice.
Definitely. Awesome. Thanks, Ryan.
All right. Thank you guys.
Be sure to see Ryan's work at Phoenix Film Revival. For details, visit phxfilmrevival.com/events. For more information about the podcast or to suggest a guest for our future podcasts, please send us an email at podcasts@phxfilmrevival.com. Your support helps us produce shows like this, as well as continue other projects for the film community in Phoenix. To pledge your support, visit our Patreon at patreon.com/phxfilmrevival. And as always, thank you for listening.